Hey everybody, this is Xipooo from Renegade Death Squad. Today I'm going to talk to you about a different controller that I purchased online on Amazon. It's called the Split Fish, the FragFX, and this is the Shark version, which is wireless. And the great thing about this particular controller, I'm going to first start out by, of course, you guys all know of the DualShock, where you have the analog sticks here that we're all very familiar with that allow us, obviously this one here is the one that controls our view. You can look up, look down, look left, right, whatever, and then of course the moving back and forth, forward, backwards, left, right, etc. And then of course you have the buttons, the X, square, triangle, circle. They're all basically based upon what your right thumb is doing. Okay. The split fish, the Shark FragFX controller, is basically broken up into two components. You guys probably have all seen this already if you've been interested. We have the two different controllers. We have the mouse, which fits in the right hand, and then the actual frag controller, which sits in your left hand. Now you may notice we're going to start off here with the one that fits in your left hand, the frag here, and this basically has your select button, your PlayStation button up here. Here's your analog stick that still rotate or still makes you move left, right, forward, backwards, and of course the regular the up, down, left, right buttons that we use for the control pad, basically. There's three buttons on the front of it. We have L2, L1, and then this top button is actually called the frag button. And it's used in combination with the select button to basically work some of the functions. There's the ability to stick swap moves so that your movement left and right actually goes to the mouse. And then that way this analog stick is actually your look up and down, so you can kind of swap which one is what. You also have the button remapping, which allows you to completely change which button does what. So if you want your gun to fire on X instead of the R1, you can do that. They have this thing called rapid fire, which basically you can set it so that when you hit the button once, it actually sends out a burst, or faster, which for the purposes of mag doesn't really do anything. There's really no change because we're all pretty much using assault rifles or sniper rifles, and everything's already pretty much set the way it's supposed to be. And then you have macros where you can set certain functions to happen. Like if I press the circle button, then that's going to cause me to jump, lie down, lie down, shoot, whatever button combination I want it to do. Again, I don't think that function works really that well because it doesn't have any sort of timing mechanism to it. So it just kind of just does them all. So, you may go through a progression and set it to go, I want to lay down, so I hold the triangle down. Well, it doesn't recognize that you're holding the triangle down, instead it just thinks you're pressing it once. It doesn't really do a lot of good. So, I'm really impressed with the functions as far as that goes. It may work in other games, but at least for my mag play, it doesn't do anything. The really cool thing, though, is, of course, the mouse, which is probably the main reason why everybody would get such a thing. Now, the mouse, of course, has our two buttons. You have this is actually your R1 and your R, and then that's the wheel is your R3, and that wheel basically is your knife. If you if you're playing mag, this is your knife button. It has buttons also on the side here. So our triangle, square, square over here. Then down here, of course, our X, and our circle. So all four of them are basically, you would put your thumb, see if I put my thumb, it's right there. So it's right where I put my thumb on the controller. And that allows me to do everything while I'm still moving, which is the fantastic thing about this controller. I come from a PC generation. Obviously, most of my games, I remember Wolfenstein on the keyboard. I played Doom. I played all sorts of PC games growing up. So I got used to using the mouse, and so for me, this is almost kind of a form of cheating. And some people think it's kind of cheating that I can use the mouse, but I'm paying $100 for my cheating. This thing does not come cheap. It cost me after taxes, it was like $93 for me, and then I had it overnight shipped for an extra $5. It cost me $100 total. And it's completely wireless, just like the regular DualShock is. Um, the thing is that it doesn't work quite the way that a normal mouse and keyboard work on your computer. And that's one of the things that takes a while to get used to. So if you're considering purchasing this, I'd say it's very, very beneficial to have it. I've gotten really good with it. My close quarters combat's much better. I way more headshots now because I'm able to aim a little bit more up and kind of track my opponent a little bit better. But the thing that's different about it is you have to understand with the mouse on your regular PC and what you're used to is you see a cursor on your screen move at the same rate that you move this. So if I just really quickly go, like that, well, I'd see the mouse cursor on my screen go wee just as fast as I move the mouse. But because of the way that the PlayStation works, you don't have that. You only have a certain set rotation, and this game's only going to rotate as fast as it's going to rotate. So what will commonly happen, and what I first started doing when I first got this and had to get used to, is I would move this mouse go really fast across, but the screen would only go a little bit and then stop. And I was like, wait a minute, ooh, I can't do that. So you had to get used to the idea that you only move the mouse over at a certain rate that it's capable of doing. But once you get used to that, it becomes very, very beneficial because you get much more pinpoint accurate with where the mouse pointer is, where the middle of your screen basically is much easier to control on your screen and aim at your opponent. It becomes much, much more accurate. The other thing that's really beneficial about it is the fact that you can hit these buttons on the side at the same time that you are moving the mouse. So I'm mouse and I'm jumping at the same time, so I can look to my side as I'm jumping in midair. Well, with shock, you have a problem with that because as you're moving this with your thumb and then you try to go jump, well, you got to take your thumb off of this stick to jump up in the air, right? Well, that means you can't move while you're moving over to hit the X button or the reload button or whatever button that you're trying to hit. You can't do both things simultaneously, but with the mouse you can. So you're on the screen at the same time that you're jumping and reloading and laying down on the ground or whatever else you're doing, which is monumentally beneficial when you have just those few precious milliseconds to react and evade with your opponent. Makes it a lot easier to track them while you're doing those things. While I'm in the middle of reloading, I can still keep my eye on where this guy is, and I don't have to readjust my sight. Absolutely phenomenal difference in the way that you play games. So my close quarters combat has definitely improved. Now, all of that being said, you absolutely have to get a couple things right. First of all, see if I can find it. Splitfish gave us this little mouse pad here, and it's okay. It does the job. I can sit it down here on the couch or the bed or whatever you play on, and I can set the mouse on it, and that's fine. But the problem is because of, like I was talking about before, if you move a big amount, it only moves so much. So you end up with this little mouse pad. You end up picking the mouse up, and running it across the pad all the time. That doesn't really do all that much good. So what I did was I got this big table. I'm going to angle it down here. You can see I've got this big table here that allows me a lot more room to move the mouse. And I got this thing for like $15 so it's not that difficult for you to get something that will work a lot better for the game. So if you're looking at buying the Splitfish, I definitely like the Shark because it is wireless. It's easy to use. You pretty much plug it in and you're going away. You don't have to do any sort of programming or anything. You just turn it on, plug this thing in, and you're good. Anyway, if you have any questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me on my YouTube channel. Feel free to contact me and ask me any questions. I'll be posting some videos here pretty shortly of how the split fish works and kind of the difference in gameplay.